Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. Want to bring a technical analysis update for Bitcoin and some of the other leaders here. We saw a big channel break here the last couple of days, and so far it's been a pullback, not a crash, but we're stair-stepping our way down. And so what I was pointing out here was this channel that we were moving up in Bitcoin since bottoming at the 3,500 level. So, we went up, we came back down, we found a really good low at 3,500. And from that point on, it was just stair-stepping our way up. Very good action. As we approached that 4,400 mark, we started to stall, and that was prior resistance back here at this point. So it was going to be a major wall to overcome. We were there for a couple of days. We struggled to get over it, but the channel hadn't really broken. And right when it looked like we were turning the corner, we had a pretty big break to the downside, and since then the trend has changed, and so we've been marching our way down here, and today we're finding some support right around $4,200. So it's going to be interesting to see if this holds. This correlates with this prior resistance, so when something turns around, that tends to act as a new floor once we break above it, and we're doing that slightly to the low end of that, but we're in that zone right now. If 4,200 doesn't hold, the next level I'm looking at is this 4,100 area. It's kind of hard to see here, but I've got a blue line, and that correlates back to this prior top right here after the run up from the extreme lows. That was the first resistance point, and we hit that here a couple of weeks back, right between that 4,000 4,100 mark, and that would be the next level. Now, what's interesting about that level is that's also a key Fibonacci level. If you look at the bottom from 3,500 up to where we topped here recently, and you take that down, that 382 level is right at $4,100. So it'd be interesting to see if that level holds. That's going to be the first stop in my opinion. I think we're going to go lower if we don't turn around here in the next day or so. Right now it's looking pretty weak. We're living below the 10-day moving average. Let me go to the daily chart here real quick. Excuse me, we are right at the 10-day moving average. We're living below it on the 4-hour chart. On the daily chart, we're right there. In the big scheme of things, this is nothing more than a pullback at this point. It's just a correction after a pretty decent run up. And so we're pulling in right now. Again, 4,100 would also correlate with that 30 EMA on the daily, as well as this prior resistance could be the next level of support on the way down. So we'll look at that. Below that, 4,000 is going to be a pretty solid base there. If you look at this next level down, and we had tested this down here a couple of times, so that 4,000 area, I would really be surprised if we start to get too far below that. In the near term, we're starting to reach these oversold levels. RSI is starting to tick down there. We could see a little sharp spike to the bottom and then start to head back up or start to build some consolidation around here. So near term, we're still in a little bit of a downtrend. We're trying to flatten out here. We'll see if we can get some legs. But, in the next couple of days or so, I'm thinking 4,100 is my first target to the downside on Bitcoin. Longer term, I think the uptrend is still intact. If you look at the daily chart again, we've had a pretty good low from that 3,500, huge volume. The rally here didn't have a ton of volume, and the RSI really didn't get much over 60, so that's a little bit of a red flag there, but we were coming from a pretty extreme low. So for now, it's just a pullback. I think the uptrend, the general uptrend is still intact, but we're going to see how it starts to act here around $4,100 to $4,000 level. I think we're going to see a retest of that 4,400 level. On that retest, that's going to be interesting. If we can retest it and break through, then we're off to the races and we'll hit 4,600. But if we retest that and can't break through 4,400 again, then at that point, I would start to get a little more concerned if we have another sharp pullback, because then you can have a big double top in place there and would certainly start to head lower below 4,000 in that scenario. So right now, we're kind of approaching this whole hard fork season again, and I don't believe this one's going to be as dramatic as the last one with Bitcoin Cash, but it's still going to have an impact on the markets. I think you're going to see some selling out of altcoins as people start to pick up some Bitcoin. Excuse me there. and capitalize on that hard fork and pick up those extra tokens. Now, the interesting thing is they're talking about another hard fork, and you got to remember, with each hard fork and each split off of Bitcoin, each of those altcoins are going to become less and less attractive, right? So when we saw that first hard fork, you saw Bitcoin Cash quickly have a valuation $6-7 billion. And I'm guessing that this next one's going to be less, and the one after that will be less, just because you're starting to spread out and you start to get a little thin there. And you know, unless you have something dramatic where there's just massive user adoption for one of these forks, I just don't see them really taking off. So that's just my guess. I think the more they try to fork Bitcoin, it's going to have a less and less impact with each one, which is good in the long run. But for now, we're going to deal with that again. We'll see where that goes over the next couple of weeks. We're going to get close here pretty soon. Let's take a look at Ethereum. So here's Ethereum, and since the big low here, it's actually been lagging Bitcoin a little bit, but I've noticed here in the last couple of days, it's holding up pretty good versus Bitcoin so far. Hasn't really been pulling in that much, but you know, we broke above that 300 level and we just never could really see some follow through. It tried and it got to about 310, and since then just been drifting down. Now sell volume has been pretty light, which is a good sign. So right now the uptrend again is still intact, starting to pull back a little bit here in sympathy with Bitcoin, but all in all the daily chart is not too bad. If we go to the 4-hour chart again, certainly in a downtrend, and during this little run up we had in Bitcoin, you can see that clearly Ethereum, and we'll see Litecoin right now, we're clearly underperforming Bitcoin here in the last couple of weeks. So until we see that turnaround, any rallies, I mean, the place to be is probably Bitcoin right now. Now let's take a look at Litecoin. So Litecoin has been lagging, certainly of the big three, the weaker one. And if you remember, I mentioned after China, the whole regulation, I pointed out that a full 30% plus of the volume was coming out of China. So those exchanges closing were going to have more of an impact on Litecoin than they were on Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so far we're starting to see that. We're seeing that lagging, you know, Litecoin is just not keeping up as much, and it's starting to roll over here. So has certainly been the laggard. You can see here from the extreme low, we just have never gotten back above that $57 mark, and it's tried a couple of times and we just still kind of flat on Litecoin. So has been underperforming to date, and I'm not sure if that's going to turn around here anytime soon. It's a little bit oversold near term, but you know, versus Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would probably pick one of the others before I went into Litecoin at this time. And finally, NEO. So NEO broke that downtrend here around the 22nd of September, where we saw that nice big break, put a little consolidation in, and we had a very nice run after that break. I mean, from that consolidation, not even the extreme low, but just from this consolidation here, we went up 100%. And so 100% in 1, 2, 3, 4 days, basically. A substantial move for NEO off the lows. It's pulling in right now, consolidating. We had a little break last week where we saw this little bit of a bull flag come in here, went down about 23%, and broke out and gave us another nice little run and hit that resistance right below 40. And that correlates with this prior base that broke down back here. So it was expected to see resistance there. Right now we're pulling in. I'm seeing that we're finding a little bit of support around that $30 mark, but no doubt it's still in correction mode. The 10 EMA on the 4-hour starting to roll over, about to cross below that 30 EMA. So this red line here is support right below $30 basically is where we're seeing that. Correlates with this little consolidation here, but you know, you're seeing a little bit of a head and shoulder pattern forming on this 4-hour chart, and the neckline has just been broken. So we'll see if this support bar today holds. Volume was big on that, so that's encouraging. RSI is a little bit low now, so thinking that might be a good support bar, but until it starts to get above this and negate this pattern, I'm going to be cautious on NEO. Longer term, I think it's still great. You know, this uptrend, I think it's just more of a little consolidation, kind of digesting that 100% plus move off the low. But near term, certainly under pressure, and what I'd like to see is first the 10 EMA get taken out, and ultimately this $34, $35 mark reconquered, and off we go. I think if we can get above that, we're going to retest the resistance here, and that potentially could set us up for a nice little breakout. If we can get above that resistance, right now it's we haven't been able to close above this $37 mark, and so that's going to really be the key there. If we can get above that, and right now, I mean, if you look at the daily chart, we're right at the 10 EMA, right? And so in the bigger scheme of things, the uptrend is fine. This is kind of a normal pullback right now. Volume hasn't been too extreme on the sell side, not compared to the buy side volume. So those are all good signs. It looks like it's just a normal correction at this point, and I'm thinking we're going to retest that $37, $38 mark here within the next couple of weeks. And above that, I mean, NEO will be knocking on the door of $44, $45, and the all-time closing high is only $49 or so. So we're not that far away. I mean, if we can break above that $37 mark, you're only 30% above, right? So we did 100% in a couple of weeks. So what's 30%? I'm hopeful that NEO will go on another run here, but for now, got to play what's happening in the near term. And I'm thinking, we're going to consolidate within this little range here for a couple of days, and then we'll start to retest on the upside. Other than NEO, another one that was looking pretty strong the last couple of days, and one of the fewer names at this point that have been holding out pretty good is Ripple. And so Ripple had a nice little rally, and since was putting in a little bit of an ascending pattern, and then really some volume came in today as it starts to break above that. So it's looking pretty good. It's looking stronger. The thing with Ripple is it's had these little pops to the upside, so I'm real hesitant. Let me just put it that way. I don't trust Ripple here just yet. I like this pattern. This is the 4-hour chart we're looking at here. Certainly can't argue with the pattern, the volume coming in up here as it breaks out. That's looking pretty good, but I'm just kind of looking at the last little pops we had. We had this breakout and then another big pop, and it just seems to still be stair-stepping its way down. And so it's going to have to really convince me here, but can't argue in the short term. Certainly one of the stronger names here last couple of days. And finally, QTUM. So there's a lot of action happening here. They're switching over from their ERC token. There's rumors that they're going to be added to another exchange, and so I've been pointing out a little bit of this inverted head and shoulder that we're seeing on this 4-hour chart here, and we did technically break above that here the last couple of days, and here's this neckline, and the breakout so far has not really had any legs. It's been a little bit of choppiness here. So you saw the big run up, and we pretty much gave it all back, pulled in, and then yesterday again I thought, here we go, we're going to run up. Came in just shy, so now it's more of a little bit of a double top, and today we're seeing some pullback again here. So I'm still keeping an eye on QTUM. I think this one has a lot of potential in the intermediate term here, but coming off the lows here is putting in a nice bottoming pattern. The daily chart still looks pretty good. We're living above that 10 EMA on the daily chart, but I just need to be convinced that that breakout is taking hold. So on this BTC chart, anything above that 300,000 Satoshi level is really going to be the key area to watch, because that correlates with this resistance back in here, and that's really acted as that wall. So this prior support level before the breakout, that's going to really be the level that I want to see cleared. If it starts to clear that, especially if volume really starts to come in, that's going to be a good signal that QTUM might want to go on a little bit of a run here. And if some of those rumors come out, you could see a reaction to that, to the announcements. So that could be the catalyst that triggers this. But one to definitely keep an eye on, one to watch here. So long as this pattern holds, I think it should be on the top of your watch list, in my opinion, at this time. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, take care.